Man, you're hard to keep up with.
You did great out there. But after a good workout, got a drink up?
All right.
Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble with Jill and Michelle.
Just let Michelle know I did do this, all right?
Same time next week?
Same time next week.
All right.
You got a real dilemma, Mr. President.
I can't go every day, can I?
Which you like better, these or these?
Joe, they're the same.
They capture different moods. I didn't get a chance to flash shift in the second. I was afraid I'd go through those guys. I'm among many qualified people. I'm the best qualified person for this job. I worked my whole life to empower women. I worked my whole life to prevent abuse.
You saw him up close as a politician.
Correct.
What kind of political operator is he?
The kind where he smiles, it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
I just spoke at Dartmouth on healthcare at the medical school, or not, I guess I wasn't actually on the campus, but the people from the medical school were at the, I want to be clear, I'm not going nuts. I'm not sure whether it was the medical school or where the hell I spoke, but it was on the campus.
Here I am in the Senate office.
Long before Joe Biden was a household name across America,
And here's my desk.
Tara Reade worked in his Senate office in the early 90s.
Here's a good picture of Senator Biden.
It was her dream job. She hoped it was the start of a long career in politics.
He was a political hero of mine because I bought into the image.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives, when you think about it.
And I really believed he was someone to not only admire, but also I wanted to be like him.
Another country and annexed a significant portion of it called Crimea. Right. He's saying that it was my boss, it was his fault.
Yeah.
Tara says it wasn't long, though, before her political hero turned into a predator.
He would just put his hands on me. He would, whenever there was a meeting or if I would see him, usually he'd put his hand on his shoulder and then he'd run his fingers up underneath my hair, on my neck, and things like that. And I had never experienced that with a boss before, and I didn't know him. It's not like there was like small talk, like where we would, you know what I'm saying? There was no reciprocal relationship or flirtation. There was nothing like that. So it was just very much him coming into a room, putting his hand on me, or whatever.
Why attack Sanders?
Why, you're getting nervous, man. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Did you ever tell him, don't do that to me?
No, I was too scared to say that. I didn't say anything.
Did he touch other women?
Mm-hmm, yeah. He just didn't, he seemed to lack boundaries with women.
Some might try to pass the behaviour off as a sign of the times.
Reade was among several women who said Biden had touched them inappropriately.
He's now threatened to undermine his bid for the White House.
No, that ain't right, man. That ain't right.
But it's a pattern of behaviour that remains today.
Those Joe Biden shoulder massages, they're like magic. You should try one. Oh, you have?
You know, the rapidly rising I don't know. I'm beginning to see why your wife left you.
Joe Biden recently vowed to be more mindful of personal space after 7 women came forward with claims of inappropriate touching.
I hear what they're saying. I understand it. And I'll be much more mindful. But I'll always believe governing, quite frankly, life for that matter, is about connecting with people. That won't change.
But what Tara Reade claims happened 27 years ago in an open corridor of the Senate is much worse.
So we were alone in this corridor, and he said my name, and then the next thing I knew, he pushed me and up against the wall. He kind of moved his body towards me, and then he used his knee to separate my legs. He said, He said, I want to fuck you. And he was whispering in my ear and he was kissing me and I was trying to get away from him. And then when I pulled away,
You right?
He had taken his hands and put them down my skirt and taken one hand and penetrated me with his fingers. And when I pulled away, he pulled back and he looked at me like kind of almost annoyed. And he said, "Come on, man, I heard you liked me." And that's when I could see that he was angry and he put his finger kind of towards my face and he said, "You know, you're nothing to me. You're nothing."
Get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight and then watch the hair come back up again.
In Tara's account, it was a senator's word against a first-year assistant. So she kept quiet, only breaking down to her mother on the phone.
She was telling me to go to the police right then, like to go to the police and to keep what I was wearing and on and to go to the police.
Why did you resist going to the police?
You know, they're there to protect the senators and congressmen. They're not there to protect us.
It would be 2 long years in 1995 before Tara told anybody else about the alleged assault, confiding in her neighbour, Linda Lacasse.
She basically said that he had put her up against the wall. He put his hands up her skirt and he put his fingers inside her.
I propose, and I'm going to digress slightly. We're in a situation. The president asked me to head up a cancer moonshot.
Tara Reade emotionally describing what she says happened in the spring of 1993.
It wasn't until 2019 that Tara then shared her story publicly, saying that Joe Biden touched her in ways that made her uncomfortable. But, just like her formal complaint at the time, it was only half a story. She says she wasn't ready to talk about the alleged sexual assault.
So what changed for you? What made you think, nah, I'm going to tell the full truth?
I decided that people needed to know he's going to the highest office of the land. He's running on a platform of character. Well, I know what he's like. I know what his character's like.
Guatemala, El Salvador, and to go in and say in Honduras and say, look, I took on Putin in terms of in terms of what was going on in Ukraine.
Did you sexually assault Tara Reade?
No, it is not true.
And Joe Biden spoke out strongly, denying the allegations.
In every case, the truth is what matters. And in this case, the truth is these claims are flat out false.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Joe Biden has repeatedly said this never happened.
Mm-hmm. I think deep down he knows. Like, I don't know what his capacity is right now. It's not very clear, but I know he knows. He knows.
What do you say to people who say they don't believe you?
That's okay. You don't have to believe me. I'm the one who has to live with it.
It seems there was very little for you to gain in coming forward.
There's nothing to gain. And in my case, I lost everything. I lost work, legitimacy. I lost my reputation. I lost friendships. I lost my housing, everything, money, everything.
Well, Trump is pursuing a damaging and erratic trade war without any strategy, by the way. Corruption. Trump was out there tweeting again this morning. I call him President Tweety.
There's also so many people that when they needed consolation, when they needed encouragement, when they needed a hug, have been happy to get that from Joe Biden.
It's an allegation that has received little coverage this election. And unlike Trump's accusers, Tara has received a barrage of scrutiny.
Do you feel as though if Joe Biden wasn't Joe Biden, your allegations would be taken more seriously?
Absolutely.
He doesn't want to shed light. He
wants to generate heat, and he's stroking violence in our cities.
These are two old-fashioned guys. You know, remember, one's 75, the other's 78, and I think they grew up in a society that was a little bit more patriarchal than the one we're living in now, so they probably had less sensitivity. But I think people will overlook that are voting for Joe Biden the same way they're going to overlook elements of that who are Trump supporters.
But President Trump and the demagogues around the world, but if Donald Trump is reelected, this guy is moving to foment hate.
We're entering an election. Are you still going to support Joe Biden?
Yes, I'm totally against Donald Trump. So yes, I am going to support him.
That's an interesting decision because you believe that Joe Biden sexually assaulted one of your good friends, and yet you're going to vote for him to be president of the United States.
I do believe that he did that. And yes, and if he becomes president, he's going to be the president who assaulted my very good friend.
We have to eliminate the funding gap that exists between minority white and majority white and non-white districts.
I march with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes.
By strengthening. A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So, did you use the word smart?
It's quite the predicament.
So you graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me.
Another term of Trump.
But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
Or an alternative some say isn't worthy of the task.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. If you want to protect yourself, get a double-barrel shotgun. Have the shells, a 12-gauge shotgun. We can't afford it by just beginning to treat reward work as much as wealth. Don't jump. Hey, look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. We have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. It will be a big, no, I really mean it.